So welcome officially everyone to the Register on Track for the Faculty of Management. Those are students coming into the Bachelor of Commerce and the Bachelor of Management. We're so happy that you're here. My name is Tyler. I use pronouns he, him, and I'm going to be helping facilitate this session, but I've got a lot of folks that are going to be helping along the way. I do want to recognize that Dalhousie University is in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. Whether you're coming from afar, whether you're from Halifax, it's always important to recognize the land that you're working, studying, and benefiting from. And as well, the African Nova Scotian communities that have been here for over 200 years. And so we're really proud to celebrate the diversity that exists here and recognize what it means to live and work on this land. And so let's just dive right in and get to the presentation. So as I mentioned, my name is Tyler Hall. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a student success advisor at the Bissett Student Success Center. I am a former management alum, and Margie Muse, who is on the call, was actually my academic advisor. So I feel very fortunate to be doing this presentation because I had such an amazing journey as a management student, and then I went on after to do my master's at Acadia. But I'm also a dancer and a baker, and as you get to know the folks on campus, you know, we're not just advisors, teachers, deans, we've got lots of interests, and so get to know us outside of the classroom as well. We're very excited you're here. I am from the Bissett Student Success Center, and so our office has two main supports that are going to assist students in Faculty of Management. The first one is studying for success. And so whether you're coming from another university, you're coming right from high school, maybe you've taken some time off, it's always an adjustment when you're getting used to a new school. And so our office provides lots of workshops, study skills, tutoring, as well as one-on-one coaching. So if you're finding getting into the swing of studying at Dalhousie is a little bit different than you might have thought, reach out to our office. We also do peer advising. So if you'd like to work one-on-one with a peer, someone who's in the program, going through what you go through, it's a great opportunity to just connect with people on campus. So Bissett Student Success Center, we're right across the street from the Rowe building, which is where the Faculty of Management is. And so don't be a stranger and come say hi. But I'm also excited to have Margie and Carrie here. If you wouldn't mind turning on your cameras, giving a little wave. Margie and Carrie, Margie's the program administrator for the management program. Carrie's the program manager for the Commerce Co-op. And they lead the Faculty of Management undergraduate advising office. And so Anna, Katie, Michelle, Julie, Colleen are all going to be amazing resources for you as you come to Dal, help you throughout your degree. And I will put a link to this so you can look at their bios, learn a little bit more about them, and even book an appointment right online. So as you're going through this, there's going to be a lot of information. You don't need to digest it all today, and just know that you've got an amazing support team that's going to help you throughout your whole degree. I couldn't have done it without Margie, and I know she and Carrie are both going to help you through your degrees as well. And so before we even get started with registration, we actually just want to welcome you to Dal. This might be your first Dalhousie session. And my team, we made just a quick little video.
Welcome to Dal!
And so, yes, we're very excited that you're coming to Dalhousie. We're really excited to welcome folks back to campus in September, wherever you're coming from. It's going to be an amazing fall and an exciting opportunity for you to start your degree here. And so when you're thinking about coming to Dal, we've got some questions up here. Feel free to put some answers in the chat, but what are you excited about? You know, you might be coming from far away, high school, transfer student, you know, there's a lot of different ways folks come to Dal, but what are you most excited about when you come here? You also might be thinking about some challenges that you're anticipating, and it's great to recognize those now because you can reach out to these resources before classes even start and really get connected and feel supported as you come into Dalhousie. And how do you plan to make the best out of your Dal experience? Maybe that's joining one of the many societies, maybe it's playing a sport, maybe it's getting involved in research or volunteer opportunities. There's a lot of stuff to do at Dalhousie, and so make sure you make the most of your university experience. But not only are you joining Dalhousie University, you're also joining the Faculty of Management, which, like I said, was my original home, so I'm very partial to it. But in addition to Carrie and Margie, we also have Mike Schmidt here. And so Mike, I'll invite you to come on. Mike is a professor in the faculty, but also the Associate Dean Academic. And I'm going to pass it over to you for some words of welcome.
Thank you very much, Tyler. And I can confirm that Tyler was a Bachelor of Management student. He doesn't say this to all of the sessions. It really is true. Listen, we're really excited to welcome you to the Faculty of Management, and in particular excited for you to experience what we have in store for you. And I just want to say a few quick things about what that's like. So you're coming to the Faculty of Management. We value a lot of things. One of them is a really highly engaged student body, and I just really encourage you to look for those opportunities to engage. You know, when you come to a university, Dalhousie in particular, but really any university, we have some minimum set of expectations on the things that you need to do in order to get a degree, and that's purely transactional, right? You do this, you get a degree, and I think that is by far the most deeply boring thing I could imagine to experience. I think that the really interesting part in your degrees is when you go beyond that and you find out what are the student societies that I can be part of, what are the events and opportunities that I have to build networks and engage with people, what are the social connections opportunities, and maybe those are through societies or residences or other structured opportunities on campus, or just people that you meet in the classroom. Whatever it is, we're just beyond enthusiastic about supporting you and engaging in that kind of thing. Another interesting thing about the faculty is the value that we place on work experience. And obviously the Commerce Co-op program, you're required to complete outstanding co-op terms with an incredible array of employers. But that opportunity exists in the Bachelor of Management as well, and in everything we do, we try to incorporate and provide opportunities for learning from to applying what you've learned in the classroom to the work environment, and vice versa, to take what you've learned in your life and in your jobs, whether related to school or not, and apply that knowledge in the classroom. And finally, we think it's really important to take a broad view, and so you'll learn some of the details and the specifics required to be effective managers, effective business people, effective entrepreneurs, effective accountants and financiers, and whatever it is that you want to do, but also to think bigger and to think, what does it take to lead? What does it take to innovate? What does it take to push us beyond where we are right now? And I'm really excited for you to explore those opportunities, both in your first year and throughout your degree. So once again, a huge welcome. We're beyond enthusiastic. I look forward to seeing many of you in person in September.
Thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate you giving that introduction. And there's so much to get excited about, and I hope you're getting pumped up. So as we kind of transition closer to learning about registration, we also just want to make sure you have an idea of what it's like to be a real life student. And I'm really happy that Charlie's able to be here today. They are not in the Bachelor of Management or Commerce, but they are a current student and have done lots of great stuff. So Charlie, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been up to on campus?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Tyler. Yeah, so my name is Charlie. I use they, them pronouns. And I actually started my first year of university at Acadia in rural Nova Scotia. And I just decided that I wanted more of a city experience during university. So I transferred to Dell in my second year. And I'm in the Bachelor of Arts program. I'm completing my major in sociology this year with a minor in creative writing. And so upon coming to Dalhousie, one of the first things that I did is go have a meeting with the Accessibility Center. So I have ADHD, and in high school I had an individual education plan. And so when I first came to Dalhousie, I had an appointment with the Accessibility Center, and they set up academic accommodations for me. And that was incredibly helpful. And another thing that I did when I first got to Dalhousie was I attended the Stay on Track program via the Bizet Center that I now work at. We offer lots of different services that we'll go over later in student supports. But Stay on Track is essentially a program where you check in with an advisor and just create a relationship and have that accountability there, which I also found incredibly helpful and definitely influenced my desire to work here, a few years later. Another thing that I did is I volunteered at South House. South House is the campus gender and sexuality resource center. And so I worked with them, I planned some events, I cleaned up their library, and yeah, it was really fun and rewarding. And then last year, I worked for the Dalhousie Registrar's Office. So the Dalhousie Registrar's Office has a bunch of different departments. They handle admissions and, you know, kind of any of the paperwork type stuff with the school. And so it was really interesting to get to see the behind the scenes of how those things worked in the school. And that job led me here to being a peer academic advisor at the Bizet Center. And I just started just like this past month, and I'm really enjoying it. You know, I've always loved the Bizet Center. And so one of my favorite courses that I took as a student is the Introduction to Creative Writing course. It is a general creative writing course. I would recommend it for almost like any kind of student because you get to do so many different types of writing. You know, we did like short fiction, poetry, screenwriting, children's book writing, some like nonfiction, journalism type writing. And it's just like a really good way to get some like foundations of different types of writing, which I definitely feel like has, you know, has influenced no matter what class it is, you'll probably have to do some kind of writing. So yeah, I found that very helpful. Yeah, and my advice for incoming students would be to take advantage of the supports available through the school. And like they're meant for you, you know, sometimes I remember as a new student here seeing some of the supports and being like, oh, they're so busy. Like, I just have to wait, you know, until this is an emergency. I don't really need to like take up this space. Where no, it's best for everybody, both like yourself and the supports that you're going to see, to be proactive about that. And yeah, know that they're there for you. And we'll go over some of those supports later on in the presentation. But yeah, right now I'll hand that back to Tyler.
Thanks so much, Charlie. And Charlie has a lot of great advice. And so I hope you were taking notes and listening. So now we're going to get into why you probably signed up for the session, which is to actually register for classes. But before you begin, there's a couple things you need to do. And the first is remember this website, dal.ca/registration. This is where everything I'm going to be covering in the presentation lives. We have kind of a 4-step process that we've outlined. And then on the right-hand side, there are registration videos that correspond to the steps. And those videos are only about 4 minutes each. And so if you need a refresher and you don't want to watch the whole thing over again, those are really great. And there's lots of good information on here just to kind of tailor everything. So dal.ca/registration. Keep that website in mind. But step 1 is before you begin. And these are some of the things you need to do. And so the first is you do need to confirm your seat by paying your $200 admission deposit. If you haven't done this already, you will not be allowed to register until you have. And so make sure you do that. You also want to make sure you've activated your net ID and password. This is going to be your login, and I'm going to talk about this on the next slide, but without it, you can't register either. So make sure you've done that. We also encourage you to set up your Dalhousie email and start using it as soon as possible. A lot of the services on campus only have access to your Dalhousie email, and so a lot of confirmation emails and event updates all go just to your Dal email. And so make sure you've set that up and you're checking it regularly or forwarding it to an account you do check regularly. Make sure you've bookmarked the important dates website. This tells you when classes start, when the last day to drop classes is, when breaks are, holidays, all that good stuff. So it's a good thing to know. And make sure you're going through the new student checklist to make sure you're on the right path so that when you arrive in September, you're ready to hit the ground running. So the net ID, this is something you activate by going to password.dal.ca and click activate your net ID. This is your login information for most of the things on campus. So whether you're trying to book an appointment with one of the advisors in the undergraduate advising office, whether you're trying to register for classes, anything like that, log into a computer, it's generally the first 2 letters of your name minus vowels and 6 numbers. And this is different than your student ID or B00 number. Sometimes it's called a banner number or a boo number. That can be found in your acceptance letter. Banner numbers are what we as staff and faculty use to look at your record and access your file. Your net ID is what you use to access your records and your files. So they're both important, but they are different. But for registration, your net ID is going to be the main one. I suggest keeping them both written down, either like in your wallet or in your notes on your phone. You will eventually memorize them and they will live with you forever. But until they are locked to memory, just keeping them handy, especially if you're calling or meeting with someone on campus. So we've got everything set up. We've paid our deposit. We've activated your net ID. Now it's time to find our courses. And how we do that is using these course planning worksheets. So I'm actually going to go off the presentation and just show you how to get to them. So dell.ca/registration. And we're going to go to step 2. So theoretically, we've done step 1. We've done all of this. Now we're going to go to step 2. In your first year, you can find the courses you need to take using course planning worksheets. So let's open it up here. We're going to scroll down, and whether you're in management or commerce, you are both in the faculty of management. And so your program worksheets live under faculty of management. There's one for commerce and one for management. So let's just open commerce to have a look at it. So it has a guide, it has a link to the academic timetable, which we'll talk about, but it outlines what courses you're going to take in your fall and what courses you're going to take in your winter. And so you'll take Commerce 1010, Commerce 1101, Economics 1101, but then you have a spot for an elective. And they have a note here, electives are any courses outside of the faculty of management, so not commerce, management, or business. In the winter, they actually have a new elective that they've been working with computer science called Programming for Business. It's not required, but it's something you might want to consider. It's an exciting new course, and we want to make sure you know that it's an option. And management looks very similar. Just, you know, in the fall, your choice would be a writing requirement, and see options below, and they've laid them out right here for you. And so these are kind of the standard first year if you want to kind of do your traditional 4-year degree and stay on track. Now, sometimes you might be looking at this and worried about the workload. Maybe you have to worry about childcare, or you want to take a reduced course load. That's when it's a really good idea to talk to your academic advisors. And luckily, on the bottom of both pages, we have their contact information. There are other options, but we want to make sure, you know, your co-ops are going to happen at the right time. Or if you're doing management, you know, when are you going to graduate? These are all important questions. So these are highly suggested first year plans. If you do want to deviate or need to deviate, make sure you're checking in with an advisor. But both of the worksheets have blank schedules at the end, so you can plan out your courses, and you can just type. It's all typable, fillable PDF. And then at the bottom, there is a spot to keep track of all of your lecture, lab, and tutorial CRNs. I'm going to talk about those later, but just remember that exists there. And so that's really how you go about finding your courses. And so these program worksheets, they list exactly what you need to take. You're going to choose your courses from the worksheet and ask advisors any questions you might have, and they all live on dell.ca/registration. And so once you feel comfortable with that, you can move forward. I just do want to chat to, maybe we have some transfer students in the audience. For those who are coming from other universities or colleges and might have some credits that are transferring over, make sure you've actually applied to transfer your credits over. And for transfer students, you can actually start registering now. And so brand new students, it's June 11th, but transfer students, it is open now. And you don't have to wait for your transfer credits to be approved unless there are prerequisites. And so if you're trying to take a second-year commerce course that requires a first-year one that you're waiting on transfer, the system won't let you. Transfer students, these worksheets don't work quite as well because things are a little bit different for you. So make sure you're reaching out to your academic advisors in the undergraduate advising office. And I also always like to point out that new to Dell orientation is for transfer students too. It's for anyone who is new to Dell. And so you might be coming from another school with a couple of years of experience, but that doesn't mean orientation isn't a great idea. It's not just for people out of high school. It's a great way to learn about the campus, get some resources, learn about Dell terms, and just get connected to the community a lot faster. So highly recommend going to that. So we've set up our NetID, paid our password, we've downloaded our program worksheet, we know what classes we're taking. Now we actually need to create our schedule. And so when you're making your schedule, there's a couple questions you might want to keep in mind. What time of day do I learn best? Sometimes you have a choice of when your classes are offered. And so make choices based on your own personal preferences. Do you want to have your classes back to back, or would you rather have breaks for lunch and dinner? When do you have access for a quiet space? And if you're doing online classes, do you prefer asynchronous or synchronous? I'm going to explain what those mean in a little bit. And did you record those CRNs for lectures, labs, and tutorials? And so that's that thing I was talking about on the program worksheet. So what do those words actually mean? Well, a lecture is generally what you think of, and the picture in the background is actually a picture of row 1028, which is the Potter Auditorium. A lot of your first year classes are going to be in there. And so that's kind of a lecture. You know, they're generally 200 to 300 people led by a professor, and they're the largest section of your course. But even those larger classes will have labs and tutorials, which are smaller, more intimate groups. Labs are typically more hands-on, working through projects, that sort of thing, whereas tutorials are more discussion-based and more on lecture content. But they're generally run by teaching assistants, and so it's an opportunity for you to connect with an upper year student in the program, and it's a great way to meet your colleagues. And so I'm going to be talking about lectures, labs, and tutorials, so hopefully that clears it up a tiny bit. So the academic timetable is where all these courses live. And I know there's a lot on this screen, so I'm actually going to go off screen again, and we're going to walk through it together. So we're going to go to dell.ca/what? Registration. So dell.ca/registration, I'm going to say it 1,000 times. We're on step 3. We're creating our schedule. And lo and behold, the academic timetable is right here. So we'll give it a click. The first thing you want to do is choose your term. And so we're choosing fall and winter because you will be choosing your courses for both fall and winter. So we'll give that a click. Location, I always recommend keeping it at all because that's going to show the online options, the in-person options. It's just a good thing to do. So we'll hit submit. So let's pop open. Let's say we're a management student and we're having a look and we're saying, okay, I need to take economics econ 1101. So we're going to go over to the timetable. We're going to go to economics, E, and it was economics or econ 1101, and lo and behold, it's right here. Right beside the course title, there's a little triangle. If you click that, it opens the course description. And so if you're not sure what microeconomics is, well, you can read about it right here. And then it's all arranged in a table. So the first thing you want to do is check if there's a note, and there are. What does the note say? Students enrolling in Econ 1101 sections 1, 2, and 3 must select a tutorial while registering. This is an online class. You are required to have daily access to computers. Students enrolling in Econ 1101 must select tutorial 01. So these notes are really important because if you don't follow them, you might end up choosing the wrong class. So it was mentioning section numbers. The sections are right here. So it said sections 1, 2, and 3, sections 1, 2, and 3. But in between those is the CRN number. Now I've mentioned this a couple times, or CRN, I should say. It's like PIN number, it's a misnomer. Course reference number. These are the actual numbers you are going to use on registration day to register. So you'll notice there's LEC and TUT. LEC stands for lecture, TUT stands for tutorial, and the rule is you have to choose one of each type. So you see there are 4 lectures to choose from, and there are 29 tutorials to choose from. And this is where you can start building your schedule. When do you want to have class? Would you like it Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4:35 to 5:25? Or would you rather have it Monday and Wednesday from 11:35 to 12:25? Or would you like it to have no time and be completely online asynchronous? And so you've got some options there. Just remember, if you choose this tutorial or this lecture, you need to choose tutorial 1, which lo and behold is the online asynchronous tutorial. R means Thursday. We get that question a lot. And it's not either or, you have to go to both. So it's either Tuesday and Thursday or Monday and Wednesday. It says the time. It'll say the campus. I would say 99% of your classes will be on the Studley campus. And if you ever have classes back to back, know that there's always 10 minutes built-in travel time. So there's always room for you to get between your classes, but you're probably going to be going between the McCain and the Kenneth Rowe building, which are like right across the street from each other. If I look at my window, I can see the McCain and the Rowe is right there. So our campus is nice and close together, which is great. You can see how many students are in the class. So you'll notice this one is 375, while this one's only 230. And so maybe you might want a smaller class. So that could be an indication of which lecture you choose. It'll say how many students are currently enrolled, how many seats are available, and how full the class is, and then the list of instructors. And so this is how you're going to start choosing your class. So let's say you wanted to do the Monday, Wednesday at 4:35. You would go to your course planning worksheet. You would go to 4:35. If it's an evening class, you'd write on Econ 1101. You would write it in Mondays and Thursdays. You would write your, or Mondays and Wednesdays, you'd write your course number, 1101, and then you would write your CRN for the lecture. So for that, oh, I've got too many tabs open now. There we go. It was 10978, and you would just go to that and write in your CRN number there, and you would just go 10978 and fill that out. So you'd need to pick a tutorial after, and you would go through your course planning worksheet and choose every single course on here. Now, for the writing requirements for our management students, you've got a choice. And so this doesn't give you any information what the courses are. So if you're like, well, what's History 1510? Well, we go to our friend, the timetable. We're going to change to history. We're going to go down to 1510. So 1020, 1021, 1022, 1023, 1501, 1510. And so you can read the course description and learn all about it. Most classes at Dalhousie are 3 credit hours, and you can tell in this column here, 3 credit hours, which basically takes up 1 spot in your course schedule. Now, History of the Future is a tricky one. It's a 6 credit hour course, which means it takes up 2 spots. So if we're looking at our management worksheet and we want to do our writing requirement, well, that means actually you're going to do both halves in 1 semester. So you would probably move your elective here. So you'd be switching those 2 around. That can sound confusing when you first hear it. But as you get used to the timetable, you kind of understand the difference. It's going to become a lot more clear. And we've got 3 6-hour courses. There's English 1030, History 1510, and SUST 1000. And those are those single term classes. So rather than doing writing fall, writing winter, you would do 2 writings in 1 semester. But also, you don't need to have the answers to all of these questions. That's why we have the lovely folks in the undergraduate advising office. So if things don't seem clear, you want someone to go over it, definitely reach out. Our job as advisors is to help you make that transition to university as smooth as possible. And so we've kind of gone over the notes, the CRNs, credit hours, course description, days, times, locations, how many people are registered, and the instructors. And so 3 other things I want to mention are cross listings, prerequisites, and exclusions. And these things are things that you will see in the course descriptions. And so cross listing means that it is equivalent to all those other classes. And so RELS 2120 is equivalent to History 2290, EMSP 2360, HSTC 2120. Same room, same professor, same class, same exam, same time, everything. It's just split between departments. It's more for a structural thing. But the good news is if you see that RELS 2120 is full, we'll check if there's space in History 2290 or EMSP 2360. They're the same exact course. And so cross listings, that's what that means. You might see prerequisite. That means you can't take this course until you have done the prerequisite. And so in this case, Math 1000, you would need Nova Scotia 11 or 12 pre-cal. Pre-cal is recommended. Exclusions are the ones you really want to watch out for. And for your commerce courses, your program worksheet has been designed so there's no exclusions. It would just be, you might see it in your writing requirements or perhaps your electives, but it just means if you've taken one of the courses in the exclusion list, you can't get credit for this course. So if I was wanting to take Math 1000 and I already took Math 1215, you wouldn't get credit for Math 1000. So it's just something to avoid. But with commerce and management, it's pretty laid out for you, and they do a good job of making sure that none of those happen to you. I mentioned these online terms, synchronous, asynchronous. I just wanted to break it down a little bit more. Synchronous means you have to join the class at the time and day it says. So it's like an in-person class, but rather than going to the classroom, you'd go onto your computer. Asynchronous courses you can do at your own pace. Well, not you can do them on your own time. So most of the lectures would be pre-recorded and you watch them on your own. Some classes have a combination. So here's some examples. This philosophy class, Intro to Philosophy, you can see it has no days or a time, but it does say online asynchronous, and that means it's an asynchronous class. For the Econ 2334, it has day and time, Wednesday and Friday from 1:05 to 2:25. It's online synchronous, which means you have to log into your computer at those specific times. We don't have a ton of online classes, but there are some options. So I always like to go over it just so you're not confused. Now I realize this is from 2020, but it's a really good example. And I tried to find another one and I couldn't. So we're using this one. But this course, the SOSA 1002, is primarily online asynchronous. But on September 10th, October 8th, November 5th, and December 3rd, there is an online synchronous component. The English one, the lecture portion is online asynchronous, but the tutorials are online synchronous, which means you have to log in on that Thursday at 4:05. And so just things to be aware of as you're choosing classes. Make sure you're using that blank schedule. Like I said, it's a fillable PDF, and so you can type in everything you need to know, and it really helps plan when your courses are. So the course planning worksheet tells you what your courses are, and using the timetable and this part of the worksheet, you can build out when your classes are. And there's that area at the bottom to type in your CRNs. And why I keep saying that is because on registration day, all you need are your CRNs. You can start today going through your program worksheets and figuring out all your required classes and then getting your CRNs even now before registration opens. So what do you do if a course is full? And sometimes courses can fill, especially if you're looking at like your writing requirement or your elective. It's good sometimes to have backup courses in mind. Also, the timetable changes over the summer. Students may choose to drop a course, professors may open more space. So just because a course is full now does not mean it's full in September. And you have until the second week of September to finalize your classes. So there's lots of time to move things around over the summer. Wait lists exist. And so some courses allow you to join a wait list, and that way you're in order of when you registered. So if spaces become available, you'll be the first one on the list. You'll also complete your degree over multiple years. And so maybe you're really excited about taking online anatomy, but it fills up. Well, you can take it another year. You're always going to have some room for electives throughout your time at Dell. And so, you know, if it's a required course, your amazing advising team is going to make sure that you get in those required courses. But if it's an elective, maybe you move it to another year. And connecting with the undergraduate advising office is a great thing to do, and they will help you every step of the way. And so we've set up our net ID, we've paid our deposit, we know what classes we need, we've created a schedule that works for us. Now it's time to actually register. You've activated your net ID and password. You've checked your registration status, which I'm going to go through. You can actually check your registration status today. You want to make sure it's all cleared. You've created a schedule and you've recorded those CRN numbers. So even today, you can log into Dell Online. You're going to use your net ID and password that you've already activated. You're going to go to Web for Students, Registration, Prepare for Registration. You're going to hit Prepare for Registration again and choose the 2022-2023 fall term. Don't check the winter term because how the system works is the winter doesn't activate until you register for fall. So just look at the fall. And it should look like this: 3 green check marks, your student status permits registration, and your academic standing permits registration, and you have no holds on your account. Your time ticket should show June 11th at 12 p.m. If anything is amiss here, make sure to get in touch with your academic advisor. Probably the main cause is you haven't paid your deposit yet. So if you have paid your deposit and this doesn't look right, reach out to your advisors. They may need to help you connect you with the registrar's office, but it should look like this. On registration day, you're going to go to register for classes instead of prepare for registration. We're going to do our fall term first. Now it opens with like a class search function and people are like, ooh, I'm going to search for my class. Don't use that section. It does not work and the notes do not come over. And so it confuses people all the time. You've already done the hard work of finding your classes and getting those CRNs. Now you just need to type them in. Hit enter CRNs and add one box for every CRN. Make sure you have all the components of a class. So if there's a lecture and a lab, you need both or it won't work. So each CRN number goes in its own individual box. You'll probably have about 9 to 10, depending on how many tutorials and labs there are. Once you have them all typed in, hit add to summary. They should show in the list and hopefully these are the courses you meant to sign up for. And then you're going to hit submit. And theoretically, they all turn green and registered and you're good to go. But sometimes we get some errors. So one error is that the wait list might be full. And so if there was a class that you saw that had a wait list, it may have filled. And so if that's the case, unfortunately, that class isn't eligible to register for. And so hopefully you've come up with a backup. That's not going to happen for your required courses. It would just be for your electives. For some of the courses, you might see that the section is full and then it'll tell you what number you would be on the wait list. So in this case, 18, you would select wait list, hit submit, and it would add you to the wait list. You also might see missing required course or grade, review course description. So that means there's a prerequisite. I find it funny how many students are like, I got an error message. And I was like, oh, what does it say? Missing required course, review course description for prerequisites. What do I do? Review the course description for prerequisites. And so a lot of the answers to your questions can be found on the timetable. And so especially during the first couple of days of registration, our advising offices could get really busy. So try to find the answer on your own first, but if you still can't do it, we're always happy to answer the question, even if your question is, what do I do for that? If you want to add yourself to the wait list, there's a little drop-down box next to the course that didn't register. You change it to waitlisted, hit submit, and it should show up in green as waitlisted. You're going to see a picture of your schedule. Hopefully none of your classes overlap because you made the schedule properly using the timetable. If they do overlap, you cannot be in two places at the same time, so you'll have to make some adjustments. And then don't forget to do your winter courses. So change the term to 22-2023 winter. You can do that by hitting select term. Add all of your winter CRNs and follow the same process. A good tip is fall CRNs start with a 1, winter CRNs start with a 2. If you try to add fall courses in the winter or winter in the fall, it will say CRN does not exist. It's because you're in the wrong term. So just make sure you're in the right term. And if you need any more support, the online help desk for registration is really great. On every single page, there's a help button. If you click on that, it'll open up all the how-to videos. So how to prepare for registration, how to register for a course, how to drop a course, how to switch a lab, how to add a wait list. It's all in there and they're like 30 seconds to a minute long. And so definitely click on that help button, give it lots of love. I'm going to talk definitely about what's going to happen on June 11th and who's going to be available to support you. But before we do that, I'm going to get Charlie to come back and just talk about some of the supports that we have for all students, just to make sure your first year is a successful one. So Charlie, come on down.
All right. Can you go to the next slide, please? Oh, yes. Okay, so the first support that we're going to talk about on campus is financial services. And they are an office here at Dalhousie that helps students with any kind of like money related matters. So, you know, if you have questions about scholarships and bursaries and even like temporary emergency loans, they can help you with that. They can help with, you know, budgeting for university. I will say that for any actual payments that you make to the school, like your tuition or any fees that you pay to the school, that goes through the registrar's office. But this is more like student focused. So if you have questions or want support about finances, this is a great place to go. Next slide, please. The Student Accessibility Center, I talked a little bit about this beforehand, but basically they are you know, responsible for helping students to overcome any kind of accessibility barriers on campus. So they can help you gain access to assistive technology and exam accommodations, you know, assist you in accessing disability related funding. And generally you if you had any kind of like individual education plan in high school or anything, you can bring that to them and they can help you set up with accommodations. But if you do think you need accommodations and you're still in the process of, figuring out that documentation, you can still go and set up an appointment and they can help you through that process and help you get accommodations for your classes and exams and such. Next slide, please. The International Center is another great resource on campus for students who are coming from outside of Canada. Mike in the chat asked, Charlie, how long before September can a student contact the Accessibility Center? I'm not certain, but I do believe that if students have accepted their admission, they can even start to make appointments now, at least like connect with an accessibility advisor now and do like virtual appointments, but I'm not certain about that, but I'm fairly certain.
Yeah, that's right, Charlie. You're right on the
Okay.
money. So as soon as you've confirmed your offer, you are eligible to start the process.
Cool. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. So the International Center, if you are a student coming from outside of Canada, they can help you with any kind of they have advisors specifically trained for helping people with their student or study visas, filing Canadian taxes, exploring the exchange and study abroad programs, English as another language supports, and they also just do different cultural events. So they'll have food events, or if you just want to get connected with the different cultures that are represented on our campus. So next slide, please. So the Black Student Advising Center is on in a little house on campus, and they have specific advisors for Black students who are seeking advising, advocacy, mentorships, if they want to connect with other students and attend workshops. And if we go to the next slide, it is actually in the same building as the Indigenous Center, and they offer similar supports. They have elders and mentors that Indigenous students can connect with, and they host events both for Indigenous students in particular, and then also outreach type events for the general student population. So those are really great resources. Next slide, please, Tyler. And then, so similarly, this is actually a new position that we're hiring for this summer, which is why we don't have their email yet. But similar to the Black and Indigenous Advising Centers, it's for 2S LGBTQ students to access advising, advocacy, mentorship, build community, and, discuss different resources on campus. And next slide, please. So the Dell bookstore, this is where you'll probably be getting most of your books and textbooks for courses in your upcoming terms. It is in the basement of the Student Union building. And generally that's where you get all your textbooks and stuff. You can also get Dalhousie gear and also different dorm essentials. Yeah, next slide, please. And the Health and Wellness Center, this is Dalhousie's on-campus clinic. So basically, with your tuition, you are automatically opted into the Dalhousie Health and Wellness Plan. And you can opt out of it if you are already covered in, provincial healthcare or something like that. But otherwise, you are covered under the Dell Health and Wellness Center. They have doctors, nurses, mental health counselors, social workers, and any kind of health related things. You can go through them. Is that all the ones that we were going through?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Charlie. And as Charlie's advice at the beginning of their session, get in touch with these folks sooner rather than later. It helps us, it helps you, and it's just a great way to get those supports you need to make sure your first year is a success. And so all of these supports, oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say I have to sign off because I have an appointment, but it was nice speaking to all of you.
No worries. Can you post the survey in the chat, Charlie?
Oh, yeah, I'll do that now. Sorry.
Okay, I'll mention the survey in a second. Thanks, Charlie. So you can get all of these resources right on Dell online or Dell.ca. So if we go to Dell.ca and you open it up, there is a current student button right at the top that a lot of people don't know actually exists. If you click on that current student button, you're going to see all of the resources we mentioned, plus so many more. And so if you're not sure where to go on campus, it's all right here. And so this is a really handy link just to bookmark. University can be a big place sometimes, but knowing where to go really helps. And so hopefully this directory helps you get all the information you need. And then a couple things just to keep in mind. We do have a Dell Mobile App. You can download it from the App Store or the Google Play Store, depending on iPhone, Android. And it's a way to meet your classmates, ask questions, connect to campus. There's orientation events, information on here, and also just general Dell updates. So if there is a snow day and you don't have to come to campus, that's a great way to find out how that works. We also are online. So if you did want to connect with us about study skills or peer mentoring, definitely follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We'd love to connect with you and help make sure your first year is a great one. And then there's also the Together at Dell program. And so this is an opportunity to meet people in upper years. So it's a mentoring program that's for any student in any program, and it goes for the entire first year. It's a way to get involved, explore different possibilities, develop skills, and just really get into the university community faster. And so Together at Dell, we're going to be sending lots of information via your Dalhousie email. So another reason to get that set up and check it regularly. And so registration opens on June 11th at 12 p.m. Atlantic time. It is a Saturday, and so make sure you remember. And this is just when it opens. So if things don't go according to plan on the Saturday, that doesn't mean your whole first year at Dell is ruined. There's lots of time to get things worked out before September. And so this is when it opens. We do recommend trying to log on to make sure you get your first choice of your classes, but don't put pressure on yourself if things don't go quite as how you thought. Make sure you have paid that deposit, and it can take up to 48 hours to process, and that's business hours. So if you do it on like Thursday night, it necessarily won't be ready for Saturday because there's the weekend. And so I highly recommend doing your deposit ASAP. And I've said it 9 times, but you need to activate your NetID and create your password. So that is how you'll actually register. Now on registration day, if you run into any problems, the registrar's office is actually going to be opened. So they're going to be opened on June 11th, registration day, to answer any of those troubleshooting registration errors. They're not going to be able to help you plan out your schedule. So that's why you can start that work now. Reach out to your advisors before June 11th if you have questions. But on registration day, if you're getting a weird error you don't recognize or something's not working, they're going to start taking calls at 11:30, and they'll be opened generally till about 4. You can also email them, but I highly recommend phone. The email takes 2 to 3 days to get an answer from. And in the registrar's office, there's also admissions, awards and financial aid, transfer credits. So it's a really handy office to connect with for all those logistical things, but they will be opened on June 11th to help you out. And so next step is to get ready to come in September. So dal.ca/new students, it has that checklist, lots of tips, orientation information, information for your family and friends. You can submit your Dal card photo, which is going to be your ID online. So once you've registered for classes, head on over to dal.ca/new students, and that's going to make sure you're ready to go for September. And the big message I hope you got across is that all of us here on the call and at Dal are here to help you out. It can be a really exciting time, but I know there's lots of anxiety sometimes around course selection or even just moving to, whether it's Canada, Halifax, or just down the street. It can be a big change for folks. So just know you're not alone, and we're really here to help support you. And yeah, so before Charlie left, they did post a survey in the chat. We'd love to know if this was helpful, if you know, if you're getting excited, if you're ready to come to Dal and you feel more confident in choosing your courses. But if you do have any lingering questions, because I'm not going to be able to answer everything in our short amount of time, make sure you're reaching out to the folks in the undergraduate advising office because they're there to help you as well. Now, I've been having a look, and I don't think a single question has been asked in the Q&A this session. But Heather, do you have any questions for myself, Carrie, or Margie that we might be able to answer? Or students, if you want to ask questions now, type it in the Q&A section and we'll answer it live for you.
Yes, hi Tyler. Yes, so there hasn't been any questions there. There was one just in the chat, and we'll just mention it. It was about tuition, and just to let students know that the tuition is not due until the middle of September for the fall classes, and then it's due in the middle of January for classes for the winter term. And I believe you had mentioned earlier about the dal.ca/dates.
Yeah.
That's a great
handy.
resource for students. It'll tell you there the dates to add classes, drop classes, etc.
Totally. That's great.
Now we do have a question in here. Can a student choose an elective at the Commerce program in fall or winter? So we can pass that on to Carrie.
Yeah, there's definitely a need to have an elective, one in the fall and typically 2 in the winter. But if you have questions about that, again, as Tyler said, you can just chat with one of our academic advisors and they'd be happy to talk through what options might be available. Or what might be good choices for you. We'd like to help you think about things that make you excited to learn, so that we know that you've got a few classes that you're going to be. Hopefully, you're excited for everything, but that we've got a couple that you're definitely interested in the topics, and yeah, so they can talk you through all that.
There's another question in here about residents and students that live in Ontario, and what do they do when the university is closed during reading week? Do I have to
Yeah.
find alternate accommodations?
Great question. So just because the university is closed doesn't mean you're going to get kicked out of residence. So the only periods where residence closes is during the summer and in between the fall semester and the winter semester. So that's generally, you have to move out 48 hours after your last exam, and you can come back the day before classes start. So that's generally the December break at the end of fall semester and the summer term. But other than that, it'll be opened during reading week, so you don't have to find other accommodations.
Another question, this is a common one too. What's considered a full-time student course load?
Yeah, so full-time is a tricky word because some people think it's a full schedule. To be a full-time student, and so that's a requirement for sometimes study permits, to live in residence, to get a bus pass. A full-time student is 9 credit hours. Generally, most courses at Dell are 3 credit hours. So generally 3 courses is considered full-time.
Other thing, I'm just going to remind students, can you put your questions in the Q&A and not in the chat? It's just a little easier if we have them all in the one location. Orientation week is another question we're getting.
Definitely. So orientation, I'm on the committee and we've already started meeting. And so orientation is going to start virtually in August. And so we're going to have some virtual events in August to get you ready to come. But orientation proper generally starts the Saturday before classes, which is often move-in day for residents. And there's going to be lots more information coming your way then.
Yeah, another one here saying the move in for residents. So Tyler just said it's typically the weekend before.
Yep.
Right.
The Saturday before Labor Day, which is the first Monday in September.
Right. So students are able to, and I believe with residents, now are they doing this year that there are times students sign up for time slots to move
They
in?
haven't officially let out the plan. I don't even know if they've done room assignments yet. So you will get lots of information about residents as we get closer.
Yeah. This is a good question, and it's about taking classes at King's, and maybe explain the relationship between King's and Dell.
Sure. So for those who might not know, King's University, the University of King's College, or King's for short, is a separate university that's connected to our campus. And so King's often has a lot of social studies, humanities, philosophy, lots of really cool courses. If you have an elective space, you're welcome to take a course on the King's campus. It's all done through the same registration software. You don't have to do anything different. So just pretend it's a regular Dell class.
Carrie, I'll go back to you. Students are asking, when do they pick their major for commerce?
Yeah, so this answer is pretty similar between both programs. So Margie, if I speak out of turn, you can just jump in, but it's not mandatory to declare a major within either program. But if a student chooses to do so or knows right away what they want to do, it can be declared at any point, but we would recommend within the winter term of second year before students are registering for their third year courses. So we start to promote majors in mid-February we put a lot of information on our office's Brightspace page that everybody will have access to. So you'll see videos in there, what the recommended course plans are. So we would recommend that that happen, like again, like late to February to early March before registration for the coming year opens at the end of March.
Can I just tack on to that? Another student is asking about doing a minor, where we have majors and minors.
Yeah, definitely can do minors. There's so many choices that that's something that's probably better discussed with an academic advisor, but there you can major, minor, there are certain certificates. There's exchanges, like so many things that you can fit together that yeah, it's Tyler showing the list in the background there. So yeah, there's just so many choices. It's a good idea to visit the minor page or look at the certificates that are available and do micro credentials instead of something bigger like the major or the minor. So yeah.
I just put that list of minors in the chat as well.
Awesome.
This is a good question too. It's about students working, either part-time jobs, but also I guess it's going to tie into the co-ops and that as well.
So I'm just reading that to make sure I understand. So My Career is the tool that we use at Dalhousie for on-campus jobs. So students can access any postings for those at through My Career at any time, which would be like part-time employment on campus. If you need to work and you don't secure it on campus, then obviously you would apply like in the downtown core there for employment. That may mean, like, depending on how many hours you have to work, that may mean an adjustment to your course load. So again, I would I feel like a broken record. I would recommend talking to your advisor to make sure that we're helping you plan properly for what your specific needs are, what courses it's better to move around, and what ones it's best to make sure you get so that you meet prerequisites, which Tyler talked about before. It's not uncommon to have to work, but if you do need to work more than 10 to 15 hours a week, then that definitely would have an impact on your ability to be an excellent student. So reach out, uao@dal.ca.
Okay, and I guess we probably have about time for one more question here. Let's see.
Maybe the one about,
I was going to say, do you want me to just jump in? I can just keep
Sure,
talking
yes.
if that's okay. So somebody has asked about international experiences for commerce. For commerce, it normally would happen in the winter term of your third year between work term 2 and work term 3. In management, we would recommend that a student exchange in the fall term of their year 3. But again, that's something, Katie Haig is actually our new global experience manager. So she's moved from specific advising to the global experience manager role, and she does everything exchange and works with the student experience for international students. So she can talk to you about exchanges. She's an alum as well and has done an exchange. So she is very, very knowledgeable in all of the processes. So hopefully that answers that question. And I see Margie is answering another one about prerequisites before declaring a major. For example, in marketing. So I can let Margie keep going that.
You can jump in if you want to keep talking.
Go ahead.
So instead of me just typing now, then I will just talk.
Okay, so you don't need the prerequisites to declare, but you would need the prerequisites when it comes time to register for future classes. So for marketing specifically, you would need to have your intro to marketing course complete, which would also have prerequisites, but those just naturally happen as part of the program. So once you have your intro to marketing, you'd be able to register for upper level marketing questions or courses. Yeah, so again, we help you map all those things out. Our advisors are great and knowledgeable. So
Tyler, I'll put this question back to you. It's about residents and how we know where some of them, there are quiet floors and that with residents. A student is asking if for instance, is considered quiet, and then but also the social aspect of it.
Yeah, so we'll do this as our last question because I know we're just past 3 now. But there's really no answer to that. Every residence has different sections. And so when you apply to residence, there's spots to fill out if you're looking for a quiet floor, if you're not. But in terms of social atmosphere, all of the residences have residence assistants and residence life managers who are there to make sure that there's events and programming and lots of opportunities to meet students, have fun, socialize. But if you are considered or worried about noise levels, you can actually request to live on quiet floors. Every building will have quiet floors. And so, yeah, all of that would be in the residence information when you apply to residence. So that takes us to time. I'm sure you probably have more questions, but I will be sending out an email with Carrie, Margie, and their whole team's contact information. I'm also going to send a recording of this video. And we just, again, want to welcome you to Dalhousie. Special thanks again to Mike, Carrie, Margie, Heather, and Charlie, who had to log out early. I know Margie was furiously typing in the chat while Carrie and Heather were doing the questions. And Mike, it's always great to hear from the faculty perspective. We're so excited for you to come in September, and there is a link in the chat for a survey. We'd love to hear how it was, and we're doing a draw for $50 bookstore gift cards. So if you want to get some money off your textbooks, let us know how we did, and it's 30 seconds, very quick. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing you all on June 11th for registration and in September. So take care, have a great one, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.